Time to turn the volume down. Everybody knows the intro music is super loud. That's how you know it's an MLB DW podcast. It will get fixed eventually. But remember the first thing I said for those hardcore listeners. At the end, there's the metronome sound, and I said I'd get rid of that too, and I didn't do it. So no promises. But by now you probably know, like, I'm about to start an MLB DW podcast. Let me turn this volume down until they start talking. But talking about some starting pitchers today. We'll go through my top 25, but we have a new guest. I can't say employee, but you've been helping me out at MLB Data Warehouse, some editing, some prospect stuff. He wrote a series about fixing up dynasty teams, and he's been helpful in the dynasty league. Name's John Allen. John, thanks for coming on. Can you just you're a JA from Indiana, and we talked before the show. We're both in front of white walls. We have a lot in common.
Yes.
Give us some idea about your bio.
Yeah. So almost a lifetime ago, it seems, I started off in the world of newspapers in the late 80s and early 90s, and went to various newspapers. One of the places I ended up at was the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, where they had just started their website, and it was one of those places where they were looking for content that was just going to be on the website. And I said, hey, I think our fabulous niche would be fantasy baseball and football. And they said, oh, why don't you go ahead and write that thing? So I did, and that's kind of where I started, and I continued that on. Went to a paper that was in the Scripps newspaper system. So I wrote there, and it ended up on a bunch of papers across the country. And of course, as we all know, or at least those of us old enough to know, newspapers just aren't a thing anymore. So I have moved on to a different world, but I still have my love for fantasy baseball. And although if you were to ever meet me, the first question you would say is, did you play football? Because I have shoulders that look like I already am wearing shoulder pads. But fantasy baseball is the thing I love. Football I love, but it just drives me crazy because I know that I'm usually like a year ahead of whoever it is that's going to be the big star the next year. So, and inevitably I don't get that guy the next year. So fantasy football is a definite problem, but fantasy baseball, I just love the grind every day. Change that lineup, look for the guys.
So I was born in 1990, so you were doing this stuff before.
Yeah.
I imagine like it's changed a lot. And I think a large percent of my readership are like these guys in my kind of more my parents' generation, maybe, that were doing this like when it was tough to do and when it was really unknown. I mean, it's still pretty niche, but
yeah,
I didn't really come on to doing this stuff until 2015. I mean, I was playing in 2015, but I didn't really do the content that hardcore until 2021. So it's always been computers and stuff for me. So
yep, I think 92 was the first year that we had a league at work, and we were running out to get the USA Today because you had to get the Tuesday and Wednesday editions, I think it was, because Tuesday had like the American League and Wednesday had the National League, and we just would plug them. I mean, we barely had spreadsheets back then, so it was manual every week. It was a task. If I hadn't won the league, I probably wouldn't have bothered.
What's that? My father-in-law talks about software that kind of was the predecessor to Excel. Do you know what?
Yes.
Lotus or something? Lotus Notes?
Yes, Lotus Notes. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I think a lot of listeners would relate to you more than me. I apologize for some of my millennial humor and lackadaisical ways, and I actually don't. I take that. I don't apologize for it at all. I think it's fine. But I do realize that there's generational gaps, and I'm dealing more. I'm probably writing to people older than me more often. But yes, so let's talk about. We're gonna do my top 25 starting pitchers. John doesn't have his own, but you're gonna see the other thing is like this generation gap, and you're coming from the professional world. All I've ever worked in is IT and stuff, and it's all like millennial stuff. So you bring a lot more professionalism to it, and we'll try to be laid back here. So we're gonna go through my top 25 starting pitchers. This will be part one. We'll do different parts. I'll maybe John comes back. I'll try to do a guest, but sometimes it's just me because I just have to jam them out in the free time. So top five, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Skubal, Crochet, Skeens is the clear top three. So just a minute on those three. I mean, do you see any way to rank those three? I've got Skubal, Crochet, Skeens, not for any real particular reason. But you could go any three ways. I don't really know. Like it doesn't bother me how you rank them, but do you have any thoughts?
I don't think there's a drastic difference between them. Usually I would be looking at what my league setup is. If there's they're pretty much all the same type of stats you're going to get from them. Obviously, Skeens is the younger of the three. I am concerned about what Scooble's going to do, since I'm imagining his arbitration results will be here soon, and I don't think he's going to be real happy. And I'm not sure that the Framber Valdez signing by the Tigers is going to make him any more happy, but we'll see.
But he's got to pitch. He's got to pitch for a new contract, so the motivation's there.
He does. And I mean, Crochet, at least last year, I mean, there was still a feeling of, is he going to be able to stay healthy enough? And that doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. So, yeah, I think all these three guys, you can't go wrong with any of the three.
Yeah, Skeens at 20. These are ages. I'll try to round up. My ages are a few months outdated. Crochet will be an old 26 at the beginning of this year. Scuba will be firmly into 29. Skeens will be knocking on the door of 24. So the age thing goes to Skeens, but he can't improve, right? Can he get better? He's got a career ERA below 2.
Well, I think if the team gets better and if wins is one of your categories, then yes, that is definitely a thing that can improve. Obviously not something that he completely controls, but something that I think can get better. And I think that the Pirates overall are a better team, at least top to bottom, in terms of the hitters. Yeah.
Not better than the Tigers or the Red Sox. Well, maybe the lineup is similar to.
The Tigers is a real question mark to me because they had a few guys that probably overperformed, and they didn't really make that many changes. So I know lots of people are hanging their hat on McGonigal's going to be up as their new shortstop, and that could be, but I don't know. He's still a rookie. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for a guy to be the starting shortstop.
And to me, he doesn't profile as like an impact bat right away, making a huge difference. Just a very good player, an upgrade, but we'll see. Like more of a play discipline guy than a guy that's hitting 35 homers. That could happen certainly, but with Skeens, you brought up the wins, and that is something that we can overlook. And you almost should overlook it because it's so hard to predict. And if you start ranking people based on that stuff, like it's super random, but it ends up mattering a ton in like a roto league where wins is a category. And last year, Crochet finished, I think it's like kind of well ahead of, maybe not well ahead, but he had an ERA a half a run higher than Skeens, but he had 18 wins. Skeens had 10. So 8 wins makes a huge difference in roto. So if you want to be bold enough to try to predict that again, then maybe that weighs in. But like you just kind of alluded to, Pirates might score runs in the Pirates might score more runs than the Tigers, and the Red Sox, nobody's, a nice top 3, top 4, but nothing to get super excited about. None of these guys have top 10 offenses supporting them. Crochet, the innings, I don't know. I can't. So Crochet threw 205 innings last year. He was just piling them up. They would let him go out in the 7th inning with 100 pitches already. Like that's unique. But so Skeens was at around 188 innings last year. Sometimes my dashboard misses by an inning or two, so don't quote me exactly. But they were keeping him under 190. Is there growth there? I mean, the Pirates he's obviously the most important thing to them. But could he get 200 innings?
I think he could, because I think there are a number of times that they kind of pulled him at 5 innings.
And they weren't winning last year.
Yeah, I'm like, 90 pitches in 5 innings, he could go another one, especially when you're in a quality start world. I mean, there's nothing worse than a 5 2/3 start.
I'm guessing all of us have had a dream involving 5.2 at some point.
I've definitely thought about changing my team name to.
And it's gotten worse over the years. Like if you get that second out of the 5th, and you're at 95 innings, and like if you're a righty and a lefty's coming up like that, you start, when you're watching it, you like almost shouldn't even watch the games. Just like go back to the newspaper the next day and see how it went. All right, so Scuba, Crochet, Skeens, it's not a flag plant whatsoever. Take all 3 however you want. You can make different angles. You can make angles that say Scuba will pitch for a contract and give full effort, or you can make the angle that he'll be most worried about not getting hurt. So maybe he backs off a little bit. Maybe he doesn't throw that 103 mile an hour fastball in the 9th inning or whatever he did last year, that ridiculous complete game. So that stuff kind of balances out. So whatever, 1, 2, 3, rank them how you want. You're not gonna get any arguments from most people. 4 is a different one, because I got Logan Gilbert at 4 and Hunter Green at 5. I think I'm pretty far above these guys. The consensus on these guys. Gilbert didn't exactly pitch like it last year. He threw 131 innings. He had an injury early on that looked pretty scary. I don't remember the details of it, but it was May or June. and it looked like it might really derail it. But he came back, and the actual results weren't great. He had a 3.5 ERA on the year, but the indicators were fantastic, and that's what I'm buying in on. Buying in on the Mariners being probably the highest win total of this top five. I don't think that's really even in question. But Gilbert last year, 32% K rate, 5.8% walk rate, and a 16.8% swing strike rate, which is crazy high. You almost never see that from a starter. That's like, I mean, the guys above him were about that too, but he's right there with these guys is my point. Deeper pitch mix. He threw 5 pitches overall, but mostly 4-seam slider, splitter, curveball. So he just checks all the boxes to me. Maybe a home run issue is what people are a little bit down on, but he's definitely not this high in ADP. But I'm all aboard Logan Gilbert.
Yeah, I'm not quite on that same train, but I do believe he's at least a top 10, 15 pitcher this year. And I mean, obviously they have horses there in Seattle with him and Wu and Kirby and even Castillo, although he's getting older. I mean, they just keep churning them out. And among the prospects that people love is their first round pick there, Anderson. So
yeah,
lots of arms there. It was a very weird year though last year for Gilbert and for Kirby with injuries. And Wu is one of those people that I've had on my team a number of times, so I always feel it whenever he skips a start, and I get nervous. So there is a level of I think risk with Gilbert that maybe there aren't with the other 4 that we see here. Because like you said, that injury last year was one of those things where it seemed like it was going to be a real long deal. They had him come back and pitch a couple times in the minors before they brought him back. So you're definitely going to want to dig more into that and see what you find on there. The good thing is that the Mariners have some of the better insider writers in baseball, so you'll be able to find whatever information you need to find on the good old interwebs.
So he came back on the 16th and made 19 starts and still struck out 31% of hitters with a 6% walk rate. He gave up 1.5 home runs per 9, so that was the issue, like just giving up some home runs. But I thought Seattle was like this crazy hard place to hit. Nobody talks about that anymore. But before last year, it was like Seattle's a great pitcher's park, and then Cal Raleigh hit 62 bombs, and people forget about that. So which is it? I don't know. But I think he can come down on the home run per 9. If we look at that per year, 2022, he had a 0.9 home run per 9. 2023, 1.4. 2024, 1.1. 2025, 1.4. So it was his tied for his highest year. They're talking about Logan Gilbert here.
Yep.
But there's more room to come down in homers than to go up. So
1.5 feels like that's definitely the peak for him, because somewhere closer to 1 or preferably about a 0.9 is where you would like him to be.
And he walks so few guys that it usually doesn't kill you anyway. I mean, putting a high walk rate together with a high home run rate is what you want to avoid, and Gilbert doesn't have quite that. The one guy that has had that concern until last year is Hunter Green, my number 5. ADP wise, Yamamoto and Sanchez are above Gilbert for the consensus and NFBC ADP, and then Hunter Green is down here at number 12. So maybe I'm buying too much into last year. 31% K rate, 6% walk rate. So that walk rate came down 3 points, which you almost never see. 2.76 ERA, 0.94 WHIP, 1.3 home run per 9. He's a fly ball guy in Cincinnati. That's always a concern. And I guess the issue is 108 innings thrown. He was hurt as well, and that's been an issue. Do you remember stuff about his injuries?
I don't remember his injuries in particular because I didn't have any of Hunter Green on any of my teams last year because he was hard to get. But because I believe in 24 he was coming off a pretty decent season in terms of the amount of innings pitched. So I'm pretty sure people were super high on him at the beginning of last year. But as far as the things that are holding him back and probably holding him ADP wise down from where this is, that's obviously the ballpark is always a problem for all the Cincinnati pitchers, but they have a pretty decent group of starting pitchers at the moment. So, you take your risks. If you feel like it's really a bad matchup, I think Hunter is one of those pitchers that it isn't going to matter quite as much about being in Cincinnati. I think it's the chances of him giving up home runs are just the same anywhere else because of the way he pitches. He's usually a little higher up in the zone, and that tends to lead to more fly balls. So,
a couple more. I mean, it would be better if he was in Detroit or somewhere. The thing, I guess it's hard to pile on 80, 90 innings from what he did last year. He kind of barely cracked 100, but it was a right groin strain, so it's not an elbow or shoulder thing.
Yeah.
So that's
those
good
are much
news.
more things to live with.
Yeah, but I don't know. 150 innings is his max now, and I suppose I shouldn't. If the expectation is 150 innings, he shouldn't be in my top 5. So maybe you'll see him come down. One thing the initial rankings for me, I'm just like, I'm not looking as much at the volume potential. Like I'm writing these in November, December, January. I'm just trying to figure out how good the guy is, and per pitch, per game, even in Cincinnati, like Hunter Green is really
Well, and if you're
among
playing
the best. Yeah.
in a head-to-head league, you don't need to worry as much about volume either, because it's all about being the best team at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, averages 99.5 in his fastball. We're going to talk about some velo stuff soon. Not sure about it in this episode, but I've got an article in the works. But 99.5, like hitters are getting better at velo. That's the spoiler alert, but not 99, not 100. They're getting better, but they still can't do it. They still can't hit it. And then he has a slider, 24% swing strike rate last year, 35% usage. And he has a splitter at 11% usage, which maybe that ticks up as he kind of evolves. And I think last year was more focused on, okay, I got this groin thing going on in early May. Let's figure that out. And maybe with a fully healthy offseason in spring, he can take another step. Now, I doubt he beats a 3 ERA again, because I think he will give up some home runs, but strikeouts and walks are going to be great.
Well, and it's funny, John and I were talking before this, and I was talking about how the Reds are just a weird team, and this right in front of us kind of speaks to that, and that they brought him back too quickly from the groin injury, tried to see if he could do it. He made it worse, and then he was out for months as opposed to a few weeks.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that was he missed about a month the first time, and then he missed about 2 weeks the first time.
Right.
And then 2 weeks later went back on the IL, and he was on the IL for 2 more months. So
yeah.
But again, groin strain, better news than many other possible pitcher injuries. 6 through 10. Here's a tier of not the whole tier. First 2 here though, Yamamoto, Sanchez. So you want safety, quote unquote, if there is such a thing. Yamamoto, Sanchez. Although we only got 1 clean, healthy season for Yamamoto. He had some injury problems in his rookie year. But everybody knows what he did last year in Sanchez. So these 2 guys, not the most elite strikeout rates, but really solid walk rates, ground ball pitchers. They don't give up home runs. I mean, they're both. Sanchez is much more distinct in that category. Sanchez is a 60+% ground ball rate guy, both on excellent teams, World Series potential teams, bunch of wins. So if you're looking for safety, you definitely take Yamamoto and Sanchez over probably both Gilbert and Green. But ceiling wise, I don't know. These 2 don't have the same ceiling to me. Lower strikeout rates, definitely some innings questions with Yamamoto at least. They're going to go 6-man rotation, right? Have you been paying attention to this Dodgers news?
I believe it when I see it on the 6-man rotation things whenever teams talk about that. Actually, Yamamoto and Sanchez.
Ohtani is here, which makes it quite a big difference, right?
Yes, that's true. Well, and the Astros are talking about it too. So, but Yamamoto is definitely one of those players that I feel is going to have a World Series hangover.
Sure.
They really abused him in the playoffs and abused his arm, which has me deeply concerned as to what this year is going to look like. And if I have him, I'm trying to get rid of him. And I think you'll get a pretty good price, because all anybody's going to be able to think of is how he pitched in the World Series and think that's how he's always going to be. And that's just not so. Yeah. Sanchez, I think, had his career year last year. So if you want to sell high, I think now is the time. You may end up giving up a good year, but I don't think there's a whole lot of those left. So, and we talked about a little bit with Gilbert. Again, I think he pitched well. There's another one who misses a start every now and then, and definitely a little bit of concern there, but he's still so young that.
Right. He's got, before we get to Wu, so Yamamoto we did a projections accuracy check, and looking at volume, I don't really want to say that projecting volume will be something some system is actually really good at. I think it's probably just the winner every year will be they kind of got lucky. But for what it's worth, Oopsie dominated everybody in projecting volume, and it is a newer system, probably with a new way of doing it. I don't know about that, but Yamamoto projects for 158 innings. Screwball's at 190, Skeens at 185, Crochet at 177, which is super low for some reason. Gilbert also a little bit lower, but Yamamoto, nobody really expects. You can't really expect 30 plus starts and 180 plus innings. So that makes a different difference in different league types. How's that for a sentence? But adjust that to your league type. Almost surely Ohtani's not going to pitch every fifth day. He's a once a week guy, and that reduces everybody else, right? So Sanchez, agree, it's kind of a buy high, but as a ground ball rate guy, such a high ground ball rate, a good strikeout rate, not great, but the walk rate's been like 5% for a few years now, so really safe there. But again, he just piled on 200 some innings plus playoffs. He was probably 210 or something. Both of these guys have a little bit of that. Like, feels like you're buying them at their ceiling, and they worked a lot last year. Brian Wu, just kind of a history of it was like a history of injuries. It was a pec thing to end the year last year, which you wouldn't normally be worried about. I don't know. Should we be more worried about Wu injury wise? Last year, leg injury and pec injury, but the year before that, some elbow stuff. But again, he threw a bunch of innings last year and was dominant. Was one of the best in the league. So maybe the elbow stuff shouldn't worry about anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things that always concerns me because I'm like, is it something or is it nothing? If they come back in a couple weeks and it's fine, I don't know. You hear about these guys who at the end of the season are supposed to get surgery because they have bone chips in their elbow and then they decide not to. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Fix that thing.
They didn't want it to ruin their Christmas or something.
I guess not.
DeGrom and Sale, pretty much the same
Speaking
story
of injuries.
Yeah, right. You could draft these guys in the top 5 if you are totally not caring about injury risk, and maybe you play in an 8-team league where there's like really good pitchers available for replacement value. Then they move up. But if you're in a league where the other extreme is these NFBC things where you can't even change your team. What you draft is what you're stuck with. It's a little bit harder to take on those two. DeGrom's healthy last year, 170 innings. We're not even going to talk about the ratios and stuff because they're such a given. Like, these guys are Hall of Famers, right? Both of them, no question. So,
very close.
And they did not lose. I mean, DeGrom backed off the strikeout rate and the velo, but still a 28% K rate, 5.5 walk rate. It was obviously a good trade. If lowering the intensity a little bit was the reason that he didn't get hurt, which is no guarantee, but it's a good bet. And obviously a very good trade. The whip has always been amazing. One of the best to ever do it in sales. So it's just about what your league is. How much do you want to weigh in the injury stuff? And I don't know. Do you believe they can play fully healthy again?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Sale just got caught in the blizzard of injuries that the Braves had last year, and he was just one of them that happened to go down with it because they had guys down everywhere.
Rib cage.
So, it gives me the feeling that he'll come back healthy this year. But again, these guys are getting up there in age. You probably have a season or two of peak performance left. And, depending if you're in a keeper or a dynasty league, obviously that would influence where you think you rank these guys.
What you don't have to worry about with Sale, I don't think, and probably both, is that I don't think there's teams are going to cap their innings, because what would be the point of that? They're not Brian Wu as a 26-year-old or whatever that they have long-term plans for. Like, they're on the last couple of years of these guys. Maybe that's harsh to say. I think it's DeGrom going 4 or 5 more years, but they're not going to be like, we got to really pack it in and worry about the long haul. These are veteran guys, and you probably couldn't take the ball out of Chris Sale's hand even if you wanted to. So
you would definitely have to fight him. Although it'll be interesting the way Atlanta has set up their bullpen. They definitely are set up to definitely get in there in the 7th inning, so you don't need to go beyond 6.
Yeah. If you don't want to pay the absolute primo cost, but you want SP1 upside and you want to make sure you have that opening day starter, because that's an underrated part. I mean, it only lasts for 1 day, but it's nice to have a guy on your fantasy team going on opening day. So I wouldn't actually factor that in, but it's a little bit of an added bonus. So Sale and DeGrom, if you want some a cheaper price with the same kind of upside as the rest of the guys. 11 through 15, an interesting one. Another guy kind of in the same vein as Sale and DeGrom. Cole Ragans is my number 11. So not a good health year for him last year. The ERA was a disaster, but if you just take look at his Sierra and his XFIP and stuff for 2 seconds, and you won't be worried about the ERA. It was and the dashboard isn't gonna go. It's spinning. Very good season for Ragans, but injuries, right? Do you remember what the injury situation is? I'll look it up.
It was a shoulder, I'm pretty sure, and that's why I picked up an orphaned dynasty team this year, and he's one of the guys on there, and I've been trying to think about whether I want to trade him or not. So far, I haven't gotten anything worth trading him for, but he's definitely one of those guys that I'm concerned about because that shoulder kept him out for months. Kirby was another one who had some injury problems. So while there are other people that you could probably sell high on, these are guys you might be able to buy low on because the talent is there.
Ragan's a groin thing in May didn't cost him more than a start or two, but then a strained rotator cuff in the left shoulder on the 11th. Sorry, it was one injury. He got transferred to the 60-day IL, did come back in late September, which is always a good thing. You know, they weren't going to make the playoffs. Maybe they were somewhat in the race, but they brought him back. You know, if it was a touchy subject, you wouldn't think they would even worry about having him make a couple starts late. So to me, that was good news, and it's good enough to plug him to take some shots at him because he is so good. I mean, I'd say he has SP1 overall upside if things go well for him. But
yes,
let's put some numbers on that because Ragan's last year, just to put away your ERA questions, he had a 38% K rate. Now it's a smaller sample, 13 starts, about 1,100 pitches, 60 some innings. So it's hard to add, you kind of want 180 innings. Can Cole Ragans pile on 120 after he's got at least one Tommy John in his past? But the performance was incredible. 38% K rate, walk rate under 8%, 17.2% swinging strike rate, and 7 home runs given up. So a higher home run to fly ball rate, bad strand rate, 354 BABIP, just like things went really poorly for him in the luck categories. So really no questions for me that he is one of the best pitchers in the league at a per game basis. George Kirby kind of, I think he increased the velo a little bit last year. He started throwing fewer strikes, which turned into more strikeouts. His strikeout rate came up, but he started the year late. He didn't get hurt after that, but he wasn't super great. But he's one of these young guys that throws with velo and had some injury stuff to the arm and shoulder, whatever it was last year. And there's a little bit of hesitation about that. And also it was a 4.21 ERA last year with a 1.19 whip. His walk rate came up to 5.5%. Now, I've already said that a 5.5% walk rate is fantastic. We're loving that for Chris Sanchez, but with Kirby, that was like double his career. So the lucky is not lucky, not even coincidentally, the K rate came up with it. So I think it was just a consequence of, okay, it's 0-2. I'll go for a waste pitch or two while all of my career, I've just been throwing 3 balls in the zone. And if it gets hit, whatever, but a little bit more selective about that. That's a little bit of me speculating, but that seems to be the case. So what do you think about Kirby? Or it was
definitely a weird season for Kirby, and definitely the increased walk percentage was a little concerning, given that he started late and then all of a sudden he's starting to do something that he's never done before, which is walk guys. So it definitely is a concerning thing. Like I said, I think it's a great time to try to buy low on him, and Ragans as well, and especially since I would definitely approach the owner of the Ragans person with the Kansas City moved in their fences 10 feet there. You might be a little scared. So I don't know that it'll be that big of a thing for him, but everything helps bring the triple price down.
Yeah, there's Kirby's profile. Just a lot of pitches. I mean, when I wrote him up, I was like, man, this is a really good price on him this year. 16.9% swing strike rate on the 4-seamer, and then good slider. Not a great sinker, but it helps to have that to play off the 4-seamer. Really good curveball last year, 250 pitches thrown, but a 20% swing strike rate. Just like really, really good numbers. A little bit of bad luck as well, like 315 BABIP, some home run stuff that we haven't really seen in the past. So I think he's a potential ace as well. And it's a good place to pitch, a good team. I don't know how much of this stuff, like pitching, people call it pitching labs or whatever. Like sometimes you just draft 5 really good pitchers and they come up and they pitch together, and then your data guys take credit for it. But I don't know, like they're just really good maybe, but we don't know. More safety here with 13 to 14, Max Fried and Hunter Brown, just lesser upside in my opinion. Fried, I've got to talk a lot about Hunter Brown, and you've got some in-person experience seeing him, but Fried real quick, went to the Yankees, park didn't matter. Ground ball rate, weak contact, he's been doing it his whole career. He stayed healthy. Excellent stuff for him last year. It's just like you're not going to get 200 strikeouts unless he goes like crazy volume or something like. No, I don't think you're going to get 200 strikeouts. So strikeout leagues, which is most, a little bit of a downgrade there for him. You'd rather have him as your SB2, but makes up for a lot of that with wins and whip. Now, Hunter Brown, I moved him up. I capitulated because I was a little bit over my skis. In the fantasy world, when you're a guy like me, you kind of want to make waves. You know, I try to not do the stuff for attention and clicks, but you got to plant your flag sometimes. That's part of the game. And I planted it on being anti-Hunter Brown. I'm still way lower than most people, but I've moved him up to a more reasonable place. So go ahead and give us the Hunter Brown takes.
So I was watching Hunter. I've had him on a lot of teams. I really wanted him on my team last year. So I got him in a lot of places, and watching him pitch, it's hard to describe, because you're watching him, he strikes out this guy, the next guy comes up, he starts off 2-0, and you're like, what are you doing? And then he comes back and he fights back and he ends up striking the guy out, but then he threw 7 pitches to make it happen. So he's always on the edge of disaster, it feels like, and it's a lot easier to not watch him and just look at his box score at the end of the day, because it looks great. I'm sure the underlying numbers don't look good, and that's probably what you were looking at, John, and thinking this guy is totally overrated.
Yes.
This is one of those rare points where the two things don't jive. The stats that you see in the box score and the stats that you get in the metrics do not correlate very well.
And it's the perfect situation, because I don't know, you're a metrics guy too, but there's plenty of people who, if they see it, especially with their own eyes, like, I don't watch. I can't tell you how little baseball I actually watch. I'll watch the Pirates for April and May, but I'm not watching 100 Browns. Like, even if he's on my team, I'm not watching the Astros at 9:00 on a Tuesday night, whatever. So I don't see it. So I just look at the numbers, and that can lead me astray. But it has some benefits as well. It's a balancing act. But for the generation I am and the background I have, I'm more of a data guy. But here it is. It's count dominance versus K to walk, and I'll admit that maybe. Oh, I'll explain this all. Don't worry. This is kind of This isn't a stat that I created. Somebody in my Twitter DMs actually brought it up, but I instituted under the dashboards, and MLB Data Warehouse is the only place you'll be able to find this. And it might not be a good stat, but I thought it was cool, and it is somewhat predictive. So I can tend to like, oh, look, I have this special metric. Like, look at me, I'm so cool. And it says this, so I will overreact to that when the metric might not be that great. But what count dominance is it takes the percent of, it looks at your total plate appearances. It says what percent of the time did you get to a 0-2 count, and what percent of the time did you get to a 3-0 count? So getting ahead right away or falling behind right away, subtracts them just like K minus walk. The correlation here lines up pretty well. If you're watching the video version, you can see it. Not perfectly, but it's an upward trend. They're correlated. So Screwball at the top right, extremely good at getting like nobody close to him in count dominance. He was getting 0-2 all the time and almost never going to 3-0. So he's kind of the outlier on that side, or at least at the top right. He's elite at both. Hunter Brown was pretty good at K minus walk, 21-ish%, between 20 and 21%. But he did terribly in this. And it's just what you just described. Like, he just went to 2-0 a lot. He didn't really care about throwing strike one. And my question is like, okay, can you do that? How long can you keep that up? Or is that a skill of his? Because nobody else seems to do that. So to me, it's just like, how do you react to this? I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those rare things. You don't see a lot of guys pitch well this way.
Yeah.
Somehow he does it. He makes it work. He's done it now a couple of years, so I guess we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But it does make for a longer day on the mound, and if you're in a quality starts league, it's probably going to cost you a couple of quality starts, because he's going to throw 8 to 10 more pitches than he needs to in order to get that out.
But they do let him get. I mean, they'll let him throw a bunch of pitches.
Yeah, they let him go.
He's a workhorse, so I mean, he's got that going for him. The other thing is just like, he's not that good at getting whiffs. A 12.5% swinging strike rate is like barely above the league average, and yet his K rate was way above the league average. Same with ball rate. Like, this is exactly what you're talking about. So he had a 38% ball rate, which would indicate like a 11% walk rate, but he came in under 8%. So maybe he really does. Like, maybe he could easily be a 5% walk rate guy. He just chooses not to be. That's very possible. It's just not something I want to bet on as a top 10, as my SP1, which is the cost it takes. So I'll continue to fade Hunter Brown, but I have moved him up above Dylan Cease, because I looked at it, like, I had Cease like 12th or something, and then I had Hunter Brown like 21st. I was like, all right, that's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Like, I'll capitulate. Cease at 15. And one thing about Cease, which will be in this new article, is that he is super, super reliant on fastballs and sliders. He's basically a 2-pitch guy, and he's got good velocity. he's been a workhorse. He's made, I mean, he has not spent any time in the IL. He's among the leaders in innings pitched and strikeouts. I think he is the top strikeout pitcher in terms of raw strikeouts over the last 3-4 years. But what we're noticing, and what we'll talk more about soon, is hitters are getting pretty good at hitting these fastballs. So you need to have something else to fall back on, and Cease doesn't have it. So that probably explains a good bit of the bad ERA last year. I like the strikeouts. I like the K- walk being so good all the time. I like the innings, the volume, and maybe it goes to the Blue Jays. Maybe they add a sinker or something. So there's a little bit of team change upside as well. A little bit of a park downgrade, I guess, going from San Diego to Toronto. But what are your takes on Cease? Because he's pretty polarizing.
I'm going to let everybody else have Dylan Cease.
Okay.
I've seen him, obviously, as John knows, living here in Indiana, you get a lot of Chicago baseball. So I've seen all those White Sox games where they would leave him out there for all 7 innings. They didn't care. They weren't going anywhere. And he would have, I mean, he could start off the game in the first inning and give 3 or 4 runs and look like he's not going to make it out of there. And then somehow he just flips the switch and then he's fine for the next 5 innings. So
that's a good thing.
It is a roller coaster with Dylan Cease. So if you like roller coasters, he's your guy. I'm very concerned about the park downgrade. I think Toronto, he's going to, again, he's one of those guys that can give up a lot of hard contact, and in Toronto, that's not a good thing. San Diego, you can sometimes survive a few of those, but he'll have a good defense, a better defense behind him, so we'll see.
Yeah, he faces the Yankees but he's coming from a division where he faced the Dodgers, so that evens out. There was one thing, the luck, you had to talk about the luck with Cease. I was reminded of a tweet I had and pulled that up. So if you're not seeing it, I'll read it. So 2021, he had a bad season, 3.91 ERA with a 3.09 BABIP. That's kind of yellow. That's a yellow light. Fine. Not good, not bad. 2022 is when this roller coaster started. So 2022, he was awesome. A 2.2 ERA, 2.60 BABIP. 2023, bad. 4.58 ERA, 3.30 BABIP. So BABIP comes up, ERA follows. 2024, BABIP gets fixed, 2.63, back down to there. ERA, much better. Still not elite, 3.47 ERA. Last year, up to a 3.20 BABIP. I am not doing this thing where I say it alternates every year. That's not true. Just because you flip 10 heads in a row does not mean anything about the 11th flip. I'm just saying that he is just as likely to go for a 2.60 BABIP as a 3.20, 3.30, and that would help the ERA quite a bit. And you're getting a discount because of the 4.5 ERA. I don't think it's crazy at all to think it's a 3.5, 3.6 ERA with 220 more strikeouts, and that's kind of my case for him.
I think that's a good case.
All right, next 5, we're going to 16 through 20. A couple guys these guys I think will all line up in somebody's top 20, but it's 16 Spencer Schwellenbach, 17 Joe Ryan, 18 Logan Webb, 19 Kyle Bradish. Is it Bradish or Bradish? Do you know?
I've heard both.
Okay,
but yeah,
we gotta like
it feels like it should be Bradish.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I get those wrong because I don't watch any of the broadcasts, so I have no idea. I know how to say Freddie Peralta, though, and he's number 20. 16, Schwellenbach broke his elbow last year. I do believe that I'm pretty aggressive on him. He's one of these guys that just gets a ton of whiffs and throws a ton of strikes. He really is so good at all the stuff that I like the most. He's been just elite in his time, but broken elbow last year. So would he have come back if the Braves were competitive? That is a question I would like to know. It seemed like it, but you just never know. Teams aren't truthful with the injury stuff. And yeah, he missed the last, 3+ months. So
I think he's a good chance to maybe buy low on based on that injury. People see elbow and they think it's really huge, but it's not Tommy John related. It wasn't a ligament problem. So should be fine. So yeah, again, I'm like you, I like him a lot. I like what he does. He keeps his whip down low. He's usually got a pretty good ERA. He's on a decent team, so he's going to get you wins. He's going to get you quality starts. So all the things I look for. Braves
are a sneaky bet to win 95 games.
It's going to be a lot harder without a shortstop, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Acuna, Olsen, Riley, Sale, Schwellenbach. That is 5 extremely, and I left guys out. It's a really good core.
They need to put my man Nacho Alvarez there at shortstop.
They do, yeah. They really don't need the bats. Just find somebody that plays really good defense. That's kind of been their approach for a while, but maybe not. Maybe that's not their ideal. But
ever since Dansby Swanson left, they've been looking for a shortstop. So.
Yeah, that's a good position to just pay somebody not a lot of money that plays really good defense and put them 9th and whatever. Like you got Acuna and Riley and Olsen and all these other guys. So That's 16 Schwellenbach. Maybe, probably no chance at 200 innings. So if you're in a volume league, points league, probably not quite as excited about him. Joe Ryan, I guess he's still on the Twins, right?
Still is.
And they did not think that would happen. It's still, pitchers report in a couple weeks. I imagine that you can back off this trade speculation once they report. Typically, you don't see guys trading hands after they've already gotten into camp, but it made a lot of sense for the Twins to trade Ryan, and then they didn't. He wasn't on the Twins Fan Fest slate or something. Who knows? Maybe he just was doing something else. They don't have to, but that fueled the speculation that
maybe he didn't want to be in Minnesota in January. Who knows?
Yeah, these days it gets pretty crazy up there. So, I don't know, but he's not a good ERA pitcher necessarily. Sometimes he can be, but super high fly ball guy. Throws a ton of strikes in the zone, gives up a ton of fly balls, which is fantastic for WHIP. He is the poster boy of the MLB DW WHIP strat. You can read about that, MLBDatawarehouse.com. Quick segue into that. It just makes a little bit more sense to draft for WHIP than ERA because WHIP is more easily predictable. So if you want to trust the projections, ERA is a lot more random than WHIP is. So if you want to build a confident, if you want to have a category that you're very confident in building for, WHIP is the one to pick. And he's fantastic at WHIP. The ERA can go either way because of the home run stuff. Also, pretty bad team context. They're probably not going to win him many games. A trade would probably be good, but the ballpark in Minnesota is pretty neutral, I'd say. So you could have a ballpark downgrade, but I think this is about right. He and Logan Webb seem like they should go together pretty closely. Webb, volume monster. The park's great. K-rate came up last year. So what do you react to this? When I see K-rates 22, 2022, sorry, if I see K-rates go year to year, 22, 22, 23, 26, I'm thinking it's coming back down this year, but it was good last year.
Yeah, I don't get too concerned about that just because Webb has been one of those guys who's been very consistent for a number of years now. Yeah. If you're one of those players that plays in a smaller league, like I play in a 10-team family league that I've been in forever, and generally in that league, I'm just stacking hitters after hitters, and then the 8th or 9th round, I'm thinking I need to finally get a pitcher. Yeah. Logan Webb is one of those guys, if you're going to have that kind of build where you're going to go heavy on your hitters, he's a guy that is going to show up and has a good chance to get you 200 strikeouts for the season, and then also be out there every day giving you quality starts.
Yeah, it is more than other pitchers. This is really what strategy do you have, and what does your league reward with Logan Webb? I would just be if I have to choose, I try to, with every player I write up in the play previews, I try to say if I'm forced to pick buy or sell, it would be a sell for me because again his K rate. The 3 years before last year was never above 23%. It balloons to 26% last year. He has good velo and good movement and stuff. It's not a shock, but I think the best bet is you're losing a couple of points of K rate, which is never a good thing. And I don't know, but he's still not priced like a top 10 pitcher or something. His price doesn't really reflect how good he was last year. So people are sharp to it. But 34 starts last year. I didn't even know you could do that. So the volume is crazy. It's what's more impressive, 34 starts for Webb or the 163 games that Devers played, right?
Yeah, I think 34 starts is definitely
that is
something to hang your hat on nowadays.
What's 162 divided by 5? I mean, he went 32.4. So I guess they just lined him up in the All-Star break and stuff. They weren't giving him any rest because why would you? Innings counts last 4 years, 192, which looks weak for him. 2023 through 216 innings, 2024, 205, 2025, 207. I think he's 15 to 20 above anybody else if you sum up the last 3 years. So volume monster. Kyle Bradish, I don't know if he has a good enough fastball. He kind of played this sinker thing last year, which worked, but slider curveball, is it a curveball? I'll pull that out. 2 of just elite breaking pitches. When he's been on the field the last 3 seasons, the K rate's been fantastic. It's no secret. I guess maybe in your 10-team leagues with your aunt and uncle, they might not know, and maybe you'll get a really big, a really nice price on Bradish. But in competitive leagues, people aren't letting him go. I'm a little bit down on him just because I haven't seen a great fastball. Sinker last year, a 10.5% swinging strike rate, which is really good for a sinker, but not great overall. And then a 4-seamer at a 9% swinging strike rate. So it's just hard to set up the slider and curveball, but he did enough to, I think top 20 is nice, but you'll see some guys a little bit higher on him. Do you have a take?
I think it'll be interesting to see if they put some innings cap on him. Obviously, he's had injuries over the past few years. So I think he's got good stuff. I think maybe the stuff he showed last year was a little more than what he really is. So I'm probably a little less excited about his 2026 season.
Yeah, I think I would be happy to take him if he really does fall, if it's that kind of league. But if you're in some league with people that really kind of are really into it, there'll be some dude that's gonna like push up the board for Bradish just to show you that they know, to puff their chest out and be like this guy. But there is crazy ceiling. Here's the workload on the screen. So 2024, just 39 innings, major league innings. There's a plenty in the minor leagues which should be accounted for here. But 2025 last year comes back late. They really took their time getting him back, which made a lot of sense. So 32 innings for him, but a 37% K rate, a 7.9% walk rate. It's hard to complain. And still a decent place to pitch. They moved the fences in a couple of years ago, but I don't think that'll be a concern. Bradish, quite good. That brings us to number 20, Freddie Peralta, which is on the wrong team here. I haven't updated his team there. That's a mistake. So he's a Met now. And I don't know. What I kind of viewed it as, the indicators have been the same for Peralta. Like, he didn't do anything under the hood better than he did in past years, but his ERA got a lot better because he was a little bit more fortunate. Now, going from Milwaukee, they led the league in wins last year, but he goes to another good team, and the park is an upgrade, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the defense will be a definite downgrade, and I also think he was a little win lucky last year. So when people see, I think he had 18 wins. When people see that, they definitely think one thing that we've already talked about: wins kind of come and go. And he'll be in the New York City spotlight. I don't know how he's going to fare with that. Obviously, a very different spotlight than Milwaukee. So I'm probably going to be later on him than anybody else. So I don't expect to get too much of Freddie Peralta on my teams.
I agree. Let's look at these indicators because it's just sometimes the simplest analysis is the best. If we look at Freddie Peralta's last 5 years. 2021, he had a 3.4 SIERA. 2022, Freddie Peralta had a 3.57 SIERA. 2023, he had a 3.45 SIERA. 2024, he had a 3.78 SIERA. 2025, he had a 3.68 SIERA. So good, not great, and pretty much the same last 5 years. His ERAs mostly match that. 2021, really good season, 2.81. 2022 ERA for Peralta, 3.58. 2023 ERA for Peralta, 3.86. 2024, 3.68. So he's just sitting in this mid threes range. And then last year, the ERA drops to 2.7, and nothing really changed otherwise in that. So plus the win thing you mentioned, it was his most wins by 5. So that's going to come down. Just a lot of kind of regression coming. And I don't really want to pay the price, but you're not going to be like super upset with what you get, I don't think. And that's the top 20. So we'll do 5 more here. We'll do probably, I don't know, we'll probably squeeze out 4 parts here, do 100 SPs. You got to get to the century mark, right? These days, we got other sites doing top 400 pitchers and stuff, which is a little bit ridiculous, but we'll keep going. But the last 5 for today: 21 Framber Valdez, 21 Valdez, 22 Ohtani, 23 Chase Burns, 24 Yuri Perez, 25 Luzardo. So you have your not elite, but you're not elite strikeout guy, but you're safe ERA, your safe innings, and Framber Valdez. I moved him up after landing in Detroit because it can't hurt. Going from the Crawford boxes to Detroit is a nice upgrade. Is that how you kind of felt after the signing?
Yeah, I was interested. I read your thing today, and I was wondering about, he's going to a park where it's a very hard thing to hit a home run. And I'm like, what was his home run rate like last year? And then I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, it could go down, but it was down pretty far to begin with.
Right. There's not much room.
Probably like 0.79, I think it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think it's going to be an upgrade for him. And he's just one of those guys that I have enjoyed having on my team a number of years. He's just usually solid. He'll have a bump somewhere in July. Something will happen, and he will have 2 or 3 bad starts. And then he'll be like, oh, this is the end. And then, nope, he's fine then after that. So usually if he crosses up his catcher and beans him after a grand slam, everything happens better after that. So we'll see. Obviously, Dylan Dinglinger and the other catcher there, Jake Rogers. Yeah. Make sure you're together with Valdez.
Yeah. Be nice to him. Buy him dinner every once in a while. That's too bad. The guy makes one mistake, and we're going to joke about it. For all the jokes are always welcome here. But
yes, as a former catcher, I don't appreciate that.
Man. All right. So then after that, that's kind of your last totally safe pick of the top 25. He's kind of a Logan Webb type. Ohtani, it's silly to think that he's not a top 10 per inning pitcher now. I mean, his numbers are just ridiculous. Just like a mutant in all regards. It's just absolutely insane. I'm gonna be telling my boys about Ohtani. Like, it's never gonna happen again. He's so good at pitching. I mean, if he never picked up a bat in his life, he would be a major league all-star. And then you just throw in that he had all this stuff or whatever. He gets gassed up enough. He doesn't need my further stuff. I'm getting a little sick of looking at his dog though, but I'm pretty anti-dog, so it's my fault.
Well, and I think Ohtani, at least in this context of rotisserie, less than head-to-head, because like head-to-head is a weekly thing, and you're only going to get him one start a week, so you're never going to get that boost of that 2 start a week thing. But I think in a rotisserie, I would move him up even higher, because the times he's going to go out there, he's going to give you some great numbers each time out. So
you almost never even have to make this choice in a draft, though, because everywhere but Yahoo, I guess you can choose on Fantrax, but most of you probably play in a league where he's both, and he's the number 1 pick. You don't even have to worry about ranking him.
Yeah.
But this is obviously only as a starting pitcher. There's just a lot of innings questions. I mean, how many can he possibly make? He'll make 23 starts max, I'd say.
Yeah, he's not making 34 starts like Logan Webb.
Yeah, it's a big difference there. I mean, he could come in 60 innings below the league leader, and you just really can't catch up. And you can't catch up in points league, no matter how good you are. If someone's got 60 more innings than you, you're losing to that guy. But really, no questions about the performance. Maybe some questions about, do they just let him go 5 innings? I mean, quality starts leagues, maybe you're a little bit worried about that, but he truly is a top 10 per game guy, or per inning guy, we should say. Chase Burns at 23. The stuff is really like 30. What was it? A 36, 37, 38% K rate last year. Did he lead the league in 12 strikeout games despite making like 8 starts or something like that? Like it was absurd, but he hurt.
He was on fire when he first came up. And then they had that stupid game in the infield of the NASCAR race there in Martinsville. Where it rained forever. And they threw him out there for 1 inning for who knows why. And he pitched the next game, he was fine. And then after that, he got hurt. Yeah. And I blame it on trying to pitch on an infield in a NASCAR race. So never do that again, Major League Baseball.
I know they're really trying to get the Southern NASCAR fans. Like that's what we got to do.
I don't think so, but Burns is definitely one of those guys that, I mean, top notch level. It's going to be interesting. People were talking about how he had a limited pitch mix, but when you throw in pitches and nobody's hitting him, why do you have to learn something else? So it'll be interesting to see if the Reds take their time to have him work on something else to kind of round out his pitch mix. And I mean, like we talked about with Hunter Green, not a great park to pitch in, but he's probably going to get it. This is probably where it's going to hurt him, his pitch mix, because he's giving up probably more fly balls than most other people. So,
but if you can strike out,
35%
strikeout rate, there's not a whole lot left.
I can live with that.
Yeah, you can't give up many home runs if you're putting away. If
they never touch the ball,
35% of the guys just have to go sit down. I misspoke. He did not have a single 12 strikeout game, but he had 4 games of 10 strikeouts. So it was really when he got going. Like he got up to the majors in late June, and then kind of settled in, like you said, from July 11th on. 4 out of 5 starts, he had 10 strikeouts. He was throwing 5.2 or 6 innings.
Yeah, and that 5th start was the crazy 1 inning pitch thing.
Did they take away? Is my thing wrong, or were those all unearned runs? Because I've got him 1, or was that the rain? It was rained out. It was. Did the game get rained out after? No, because it wouldn't be in the Dodgers. What happened there? Did he get bombed or what? Because he has 0 earned runs here.
No, it was they couldn't even finish the first inning. They never went beyond that.
Okay.
They might have then made it up somewhere else so that the stats are still good. They may have just started in the second inning sometime.
Yeah, I should start doing this since we're getting more professional here, but I load the game days, the box scores from yesterday every morning, but I don't do anything retroactively to like go back. I should probably reload like the last 5 or 10 days every morning. Maybe we'll fix that, but there's definitely some bad data here. But then, like you said, gets hurt, comes back in September. They were a playoff team, but they chose not to really push it. So he worked out of the bullpen, but the numbers were crazy, 36% K rate, 8.5% walk rate. And like you said, it's two pitches. It's four seamers 58% of the time and sliders 35% of the time. That leaves just 8% for 7%, you could say, for this changeup, curveball, sinker. So probably needs to develop that. And again, like 99 isn't what it was a couple of years ago, but it's 99. The fastball got hit for one home run on 446 pitches. So you shouldn't be too worried about that. But volume, you have both concerns here. Like with Ohtani, we have volume concerns, but not performance. It's fair to say Burns has slight performance questions as well because he might just give up a bunch of home runs.
Yeah.
Same with Yuri Perez, very similar here. He's just he's like an extra year or two ahead. He's learned some lessons. He's improved. The stuff is great. They kind of finally took the leash off last year after he was coming back from Tommy John. And the Marlins could be competitive. I mean, I don't think they're a surefire fourth or fifth place team. They can make some noise. And if there's a year for Yuri, I think it's now, fully back from injury and kind of into his third year. And I think they kind of let him go. And this stuff is fantastic.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that we could see near the top 5 of this list next year just because of his talent. Their home stadium is always helpful for their pitchers. And like you said, I think the Marlins are a little better team than they were in the past. So should be better results, and we should see better defense. It's very interesting, the thing they did last year where they took their shortstop and made him the second baseman and made their second baseman the shortstop because they didn't like the way that they were playing the first half of the year. So now that they've made that switch, maybe they'll be better off.
He's not much of a ground ball guy anyway, 31% ground ball rate. He's one of the highest fly ball rate pitchers, which is always a little bit scary. But again, it comes with a super high strikeout rate. And he's got a deeper pitch mix. He's still 52% four-seamer, 23% slider. So very similar to Burns and Hunter Green and Spencer Strider. He's not in the top 25, but those are the three guys I think of when I think four-seamer sliders, and it works. But he's got a curveball, 9% usage. He's got a sweeper. He's got a changeup, 8% usage both. So he's got some extra room in the bag to bring out some new stuff. And I think you'll probably see that. That's not uncommon at all. Those guys get in the majors as they get consistent reps with these major league coaches, these other major league pitchers. They develop that stuff. A healthy offseason, I think it makes a lot of sense that, last year he was coming back from Tommy John. That was the thing. This year he's healthy, throwing, probably adding some pitches and stuff. So again, 190 innings, probably not. But at this point, when 175 is pretty much, you can get to the top 15 or so in the majors with 180 innings. So I think you can get close enough to that to take advantage. So I would actually in practice probably take him over Burns. So you might see some shuffling around in this. It's all part of the process of looking at things, talking to other people and letting the rankings tweak. So, but number 25 to wrap it up, Jesus Luzardo. I don't know. He pitched way better than this last year. He's on a good team. The command got way better. I just can't forget the past, right? He wasn't that until last year, and it was a worse park. Like Philly's not the greatest pitcher park. Didn't bother him last year, but will it this year? I don't know. I can't quite trust him yet. I need one more year.
Yeah, he's generally another roller coaster one where a couple games in a row he'll pitch amazing. He'll have 10 plus strikeouts. You'll be like, oh, he finally figured it out, and then boom, he'll go out and throw 3 innings and give up 9 runs, and you'll be like, what happened? So if you don't mind the roller coaster effect, then he is definitely a guy that's going to be interesting to you. I think there is still an area for him to grow. He is still relatively young as a pitcher, so he could get a little bit better here. So it'll be interesting to see how his season goes this year. If it's a repeat of last year where, yes, there's
that roller coaster. We put the fantasy points log on the screen here.
There you go. 1 week, he's got a start there with 33 points, 24 points, and then minus 16 points and minus 13 points for the next 2 outings. So that's him. So you've been forewarned that that's a possibility. So
if you play in a league where people are emotional, I made a joke. I said the same thing. I'm going to do it to myself again. We're an hour into a podcast, so people have quit listening. I say if you I said it on Reddit, which is the worst possible place to say it. I said if you play in a league where people are emotional, and then in parentheses I put if there's a few women in your league, and Reddit thought I was legit Hitler for saying such thing. I'm making a joke about women, but so I'm off Reddit now. Don't worry about that. But if you do play in a league, not necessarily with women, but just with people that really watch all these games and they get really mad. Don't draft Luzardo. Don't draft Blake Snell. Don't draft these other types. Just wait for that minus 12 to hit and then show up the next morning with a trade offer. So That's it. That's the top 25. John Allen, thanks for joining. We'll be back at some point. It's only February 5th. We got some time, but we'll be back with SPs 26 through 50. A lot of other stuff going on at MLB Data Warehouse, position previews, all kinds of stuff. The last few team previews will be out, so subscribe there. Give John Allen a follow remind us of your Twitter.
I'm at Allen Reports.
Okay. He'll be helping us out, editing, making us a little bit more professional, and probably doing some prospect content. That's kind of your thing now, right? More of the prospect stuff, or?
Yeah, I'm very deep into the dynasty leagues. I got 11 teams going, so, and one of them is that wonderful 30 team league we are in now, so.
Which I will not be winning. But that's it. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you next time. Peace.